Hey adventurers, welcome back to my channel. This is my boat and I'm Faith Roswell. I have talked quite extensively about the various learning curves I've been on, mistakes I've made, you name it, all that jazz. And I am not ashamed to admit I've done some completely idiotic things. And I've come under my fair share of online comments and occasional screaming vitriol for some of the choices I've made and things that I've done. And one thing that really grinds my gears is seeing people refuse to do something for fear of being laughed at or insulted or made fun of because they've done something out of ignorance. So, you know what? Here is a collection of the 5 stupidest things I've ever done while living on a boat. Now, I'm also going to do the 5 smartest decisions I've ever made because I know that a few people follow me because they're actually interested in living on a boat. So I think I have made my fair share of smart decisions too, but you know what? Here we go. First thing I have done that was really dumb. Living on the water takes a bit of getting used to. I am used to urbexing. I got into the habit of being prepared at all times to hear the word, "Oh my God, cops!" grab my things, sling my bag onto the back and run out of the door or up the stairs or wherever. And that's ended up translating into my everyday life. I still tend to pack my bag up and swing it. And living on the water and not doing said bag up, my phone, within a few months of living on a boat, my phone did this amazing straight out of my bag and splish. And that is how I lost my phone. Now, apparently there is this kind of joke that you're not a true boater until you've fallen in the water. Well, by that definition, my old phone back at my old marina is more of a boater than I am, because the one thing I haven't done that I guess everyone's expecting me to say is that I fell in. I haven't yet. Touch wood. Second thing, check your marina. Now, I hit a really big learning curve recently. I have been in what I would describe as a survivalist mindset, and that can be amazing, that can be very beneficial, but at the same time, I've learned the hard way that it can be very detrimental to a person's everyday well-being as well. And one of the ways that that has had a bad effect on me is finding a situation perfectly tolerable if it's merely good enough. And when I first looked for my marina, I wanted somewhere on a public transport route in relatively nearish distance to my mum, but not on each other's doorstep. You know, I love my mum, but don't want to be that close. And somewhere that I could see myself living. Well, the thing is, I could have seen myself living on a plank in the middle of some lake as long as there was a bus stop. So I picked the first marina I could possibly find. I didn't really even look at any other places. It was cheap enough for me to afford. It was on a bus route in the vague vicinity that I wanted. And because that was good enough, it didn't occur to me to look anywhere else. Now, that marina was a death trap. I didn't know at the time, but it was actually quite a notorious place. It was full of terrible reviews, really badly managed, dangerously unsafe, terrible security. And had I just looked for something better, looked for something a bit more high quality, I would have found the place I'm at now, which is home. But the survivalist in me said, you know what, there we go, there's your plank of wood, now we can move on to something else. Third mistake is giving up too soon. I stand by my original statement that I've said in a couple of videos before. Boats' default state in winter is fucking cold. So I had a stove. I've got one now in this boat. I had one in my previous one as well, and I simply wasn't very good at lighting it. Not only was I not good at lighting it, I wasn't good at getting it to really kick out enough heat to be warm. The effort was not translating to the effect. So again, we're back to the survivalist mindset. I lived under a heated blanket with a hot water bottle and the occasional radiator on. And that was fine. But it wasn't the best that it could be. It wasn't the best I could do. And the stupid part of this, here's where the stupidity comes in, I gave up too soon. If there's a skill that you need, don't give up. Now I've practiced, and while again I'm not 100% confident, I am considerably better than I was, and I have faith in my ability to heat my home. So number 4 also involves my fire. I used to lay out my clothes once I'd washed them to dry them in front of the fire. I used to just turn them over every few seconds for the small things and, leave the big things a little bit longer. And I had an airer for the big things, and it worked really, really well. It was very nice having a lovely warm thing drying in front of the fire. And I made the mistake of lying my knickers on top of the flat bit of the stove. Now, I would never leave something like that going while I am out of the boat or even in another room. I was there the whole time, but I turned around and was going, what the hell is that smell? Here is a visual representation of what happened. Duh! If something's going to melt your pants, don't let it be the fire. Finally, and this is the big one, I didn't get a hull inspection when I first bought my boat. 5 days after we got her and I'd sailed her to the marina that I was supposed to be living at, the dodgy one, I found a hole in the hull. She was taking on water and we had to get her quickly taken back to the boatyard, craned out of the water, hull welded, hull inspection done, and that set me back several £1,000s. Now, it would have set me back several £1,000s anyway, but it would have removed the heartache of thinking everything was fine, having this wonderful kind of maiden voyage as her owner, and then having to take her back. I've got so many incredible comments about this, from varying levels of school mastery to patronising to just downright mean. And I want to address one. Actually, I probably want to address a few, but here's one of them. You wouldn't buy a house without a house survey, now would you? Well, if I bought a house right this second, no, I wouldn't, because I've had the experience of knowing what a hull survey is and wondering, I wonder if they do that for a house as well. But if I was buying a house for the very first time in my life, which I've never done, I probably would not, because I probably wouldn't have known such a thing exists. The thing about not knowing something is you don't know it. What might be completely obvious to some people when you're doing something for the first time is not. I've been amazed at things that people don't know when they're going either urbexing or travelling the world or trying to travel solo, because it's completely second nature to me. But there are, you don't realise the knowledge that you're picking up until you have it, and then it's just duh. So that's the first thing. You do not know the knowledge that you lack. And yes, you can do all the research in the world, but there's always going to be something that you don't know and that someone's going to try and make you feel small for. I don't know if this one was trolling or not, but I got someone telling me I should have learned to weld before I got a boat. Why didn't you learn that before you got a boat, you silly girl? I would have learned everything there is to know about getting a boat when I was in the womb. Bloody ridiculous. It's really easy to know everything about your whole world when your world is this big. If you are trying something new, you're going to fuck up. Whether that's trying a completely different new venture, like moving into a caravan, whether you're learning another language, hell, even having a baby, learning to be a new parent. Anything you do that is a new experience, you're going to fuck up at some point. And berating someone when they have already acknowledged that it was a mistake says more about the person berating them than it does about someone for making the mistake in the first place. Now, obviously, I said that in a silly voice because the sort of person I imagine saying this, the sort of person that I often get these comments from, is a very pompous individual who generally thinks of the little woman as someone who shouldn't be making any large adult decisions on her own, and I call him Humphrey. So I think when I see stupid comments like that, I just go, shut up, Humphrey, and I continue with my day. So bit of advice for life. Firstly, okay, advice for buying a boat, get a hull inspection. Advice for life, if there's some voice in the back of your head that's making fun of you or ridiculing you or belittling you for something you're doing, give it a name, give it a character and tell it to shut up. I'm going to do a video at some point very soon about the smartest decisions I've ever made while living on a boat, because for every dumb thing I've said and done, I've done something really smart as well. I talk about my mistakes because I think it's really helpful for someone to know that you're not alone. I still make mistakes. I still make mistakes. I still fuck up. But as long as you're learning from it and you're not making the same mistake over and over and over again, that goes for anything in life, you're doing better than some idiot who's berating you for making the mistake in the first place. Now, I normally sign off with stay adventurous and rock on, but someone very important to me signs off with go forth and make incredible things. So for today, go forth and make incredible mistakes. Hope you'll subscribe to my channel, and my Instagram is Faith Roswell Official, and if you really want to support me, my work, and see my adventures all around the world, including some epic artistic nude shots in abandoned buildings, my Patreon is Faith Roswell. Have an awesome day.